When should you attack? When should you go on offense? Well, that's a question a lot of rec players struggle with. So we're going to talk about how your footwork can actually give you some clues, can actually be an indicator of whether or not it's a good time to attack. And that's a pretty cool indicator to have, to be able to say to yourself, okay, I can use this footwork pattern, and now's a good time to ramp up the pressure a little bit. Now, before we get to that discussion, let's talk about the two big mistakes rec players tend to make when trying to be aggressive. And the first has to do with their court positioning, specifically how far behind the baseline they are or you are. And if this red line is an indicator of how far you typically stand behind the baseline during a neutral rally, so this would be the depth you like during a neutral rally, just nobody has the advantage, well, you don't want to stay at this depth, or you don't rather want to be at this depth when you start attacking. This is a little bit too far behind the baseline. And there was actually a study done, I can't remember who did the study, but what they found was, and they were looking at the pro tour, by the way, they found that pros, when they were real far behind the baseline, but they tried to go on offense, wasn't all that successful. And they got progressively more successful the further they moved into the court, and it was really the baseline where you had that tipping point, where inside the baseline, the aggression really paid off, but behind the baseline, there were more unforced errors, and it wasn't nearly as good of an idea to go on offense. So what that means for you is if you've got your normal depth here, and well, actually, red's appropriate. We can put a little red light. Should not be attacking from that depth. What you want is to move into the court, be able to move into the court when you're trying to attack. So that would be the old green light in this instance. Now, the second mistake rec players tend to make is they overhit. So, okay, it's time to go on offense, so I'm going to swing for the fences. Just take a huge rip at the ball. More, a bigger cut, a much bigger cut than you would normally take. That either puts the ball in the net or it actually puts the ball in the fence, neither which, obviously, neither one you want. So how do we use footwork to move forward, to get that better vertical court positioning, and to add more juice to our groundies without having to swing harder? Well, what you use is something called dynamic footwork, and specifically two pieces of dynamic footwork, the walking step and the hopping step. And dynamic footwork was introduced by a great coach, good buddy of mine, Yano Zhu. Many of you have probably seen videos FYB has done with him. And the dynamic footwork concept was introduced in a video called Modern Tennis Footwork. In a second, if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll have a link for you. If you're watching this video on FYB, the video is directly below this one. So you can go learn about those, you can learn about dynamic footwork and the walking step, hopping step in particular, if you don't know about those two pieces of footwork. But the reason they are good, and this is Jan's explanation, is dynamic footwork is more penetrating. It allows you to move forward, take time and space away from your opponent. So because that footwork is moving you forward, you're no longer at the normal rally depth. You're now moving into the court. You're going to be somewhere around the baseline or inside the baseline. And of course, that from a positioning standpoint, vertical positioning standpoint, perfect place to, an appropriate place to attack. Now, the other great thing about the dynamic footwork, this is really why I like it, is it allows you to add more juice to your ground strokes without having to swing any harder. You can take your normal swing, standard rally ball swing, but because you're now moving forward, you've got your body's momentum behind your shot, your groundies automatically have more juice on them. So you get a bigger ball without having to swing any harder. And that's huge because not just at the rec level, players at all level, they tend to, the overhitting can be a big problem when you get a ball you can be aggressive on. So those are the two reasons that dynamic footwork is great. It gets you in good position, and it allows you, and it lets you put more weight behind your shot, more pace behind your shot, without having to swing a little bit harder. So the next time you are playing a match, first of all, figure out, if you don't know what dynamic footwork is, go watch the Modern Tennis Footwork video, walking step, hopping step. Incorporate those steps into your game. They don't take very long to incorporate. That's another awesome part about dynamic footwork is the patterns are really intuitive, and you should be able to add them literally the very next time you play tennis. So say to yourself, okay, I can use the walking step, or I can use the hopping step. This might be a good time to go on offense, to attack, and see what the results are. I think you're really gonna be happy with the results in when you try this stuff out. Now, just to give you one quick, final maybe indicator of how valuable I think this stuff is and how important I think it is. I just ran a clinic with another coach and good buddy of mine, Ian Westerman, EssentialTennis.com. Awesome clinic, by the way. Everybody that showed up, I really enjoyed it. Thank you. Some people came from North Carolina or Nashville or New York all the way to the D.C. area. So, it was quite a trek for some folks. So thank you very much for doing that, first of all. But second of all, the on-court stuff was about 5 hours. And I'd say 2 to 2.5 hours of that was devoted to the dynamic footwork, the walking step, the hopping step, some of the other pieces of footwork in there as well, because it's just so important, and the returns are almost instantaneous. You don't have to change your strokes. You don't have to change how you swing the racket. Simply by how you move, that is going to make you a better tennis player, but it's going to add that additional weight behind your shots, which is obviously great if you're really looking for some additional power on your roundies. So with that in mind, if you're watching this on FYB, there's a Facebook like button above. Please click that if you like this video. If you don't, then don't do it. On YouTube, there's a like button as well, somewhere I think below over here maybe. Please click on that. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this video. And obviously, go try this stuff out. And then after you try it out, come back and leave us a comment and let us know how everything turned out. So with that in mind, I look forward to reading your comments, and I will see you guys soon.